Right, welcome along guys to the 2005 get together for the Vintage Computer Club and the Facebook group as well as Discord. I'd like to welcome you all along. Tea and coffees up here, biscuits, whatever you like. There's big jars up there to help yourself. You want to take some home, there's bags there and that you can help yourself to those. So we'll start off just a bit of an introduction, who's who, and a little bit about yourself, and then once we've finished that we will then go around the tables and just a little bit about what everybody's collecting, what they're into and that sort of stuff. So I'm your host, David Otter.
This is what I've got. I've got an Apple IIe Plus here, which is probably, most definitely, currently the oldest thing in my collection. Oldest functioning thing anyway. Yep. Plastic. Got tons of games on it if anyone wants to play. Got hooked up to a printer, but empty paper.
Should have been down in Invercargill, someone was giving it away.
Image writer 2. My cube, which is probably one of my favourites. It's so beautiful. Yeah. Not really anything special to use, but it's so lovely. And I'll put it in the box. So PowerBook 140 needs to be plugged into work. Along with my eMake and research pad, so if you want to have a look at these, you need to plug them in because the batteries do not go, but I also have the boxes for these. So I here primarily try and stick to Apple, my collection, otherwise I have to go a bit overboard and I don't really have the space or time. Got a couple of other non-Apple bits and pieces, but yeah, primarily Apple. I also repair new Apple as my job, so it comes in useful mostly because of the people I work with who are just amazing with their knowledge, and if I get stuck or don't really want to try something without assistance or second pair of eyes.
Anybody have any questions?
Oh, sorry, the Mac Classic, did you retrobrite that, or that was my question?
I bought it retrobrited.
Right.
Like that when I got it.
Yeah.
Which
Oh, that's great.
very happy with that find.
Yeah, I think mine looks like the printer colour.
Most of them look like the printer colour.
My other Canada are definitely look a bit like this as well. Wanted to bring my 512K, but died the other day. There's a few other pieces that I really wanted to bring, but yeah, such is life.
Cool.
Yeah, you done that.
It does, yeah. Right, next in line.
Firstly, we have a training microcomputer training kit, complete with manuals. Most of it hasn't got any writing in it, anything, so really do. Back in the days when you were learning assembly language and stuff. Over here, we have a late model Commodore PET. I have 5 PETs, 1/6. And the case here was designed by Porsche, so they say. The back opens up to expose all the circuit boards. It's got a separate keyboard.
And
a floppy disk.
And some rope.
And the floppy disks usually cost about the same amount as the computer at the time, because they're basically mini computers as they are. It's warm over here, isn't it?
It is. A bit warm over there, I don't know why.
So this, I purchased this from the guy in Wellington. He said it was used by the Department of Statistics and for population statistics specifically, he said. It's rather heavy, I have to dismantle it partially to move it around. This was one that only used that particular style of CPU. That was the first attempt by Sun to make a mainframe server. Over here, we have the Super Brain by Intertech. I got this from young David over here. And I just brought that along because it looks cool and reflects the early 80s, late 70s style of curvy computing, a little bit like that guy. And over here, a couple of EEPROM programmers. They're useful. They run off the parallel port and the serial port, and they can do the old 2500 EEPROMs, which the modern ones can't because they don't supply the negative 12 volts. So I find those useful. Particularly, lots of this, you don't need adapters to put the new style EEPROMs in.
Cool.
So those there.
Yep. Cool. Thank you, Grant.
Nice. Which CPU's in the trainer?
That is 8085, I think.
Yeah, I think they were.
An 8080.
8080, yeah.
Nice.
Any other questions for Grant, anybody?
What software can you run on your Sun?
That's largely up to Solaris 8. That's Solaris 6 to 8. You can run Linux on it with a modified kernel.
That CD-ROM, is it CD-ROM or is it a magneto-optical drive?
It's just a CD-ROM with the old style CAN cartridge.
Got to protect those CDs.
Oh yes.
I like the idea of the radio system. So the PET, is that nice curvy PET, is it compatible with, or is it the same guts as the old PET?
Pretty much the newer, the 8000 series PETs. So it's still running basic 4.
Is it one of the item? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a 8-column PETs.
Yeah.
It hasn't got the graphical keyboard, so it's a business machine.
Okay.
Yeah. So up until some 4000 series ones had the graphic keyboard, and then they moved to the business keyboard. So it's not great for playing games.
Is it one of the last PETs?
There was one after that, which had the built-in floppy drives. And there was educator ones and also a super PET. Educator.
All right, thank you.
Nice. Thank you.
Nice, thank you, Grant. All right. This is Kirk's collection for a new house.
I thought I would do something different rather than brain computers, thinking that maybe some people might come this afternoon wanting to nostalgia. So I've kind of done the evolution of going mobile from early 80s through to the iPhone era. And so there's like a radio terminal that the IBM engineers used in the early 80s to connect to servers, some calculators, some Newtons, some Palm stuff, a BlackBerry. If you want a throwback, there's the iPhone, original iPhone, you can see that its height is about the same as the width on your current iPhone. And then this is, if anyone wants to play with that, that's Omni, which has got a ZX Spectrum Harlequin clone thing inside, and it's kind of built as a laptop, which is kind of cute. Yeah. There's anything else that's weird in here? I think, well, my dad gave me that when I was a kid. I think it came out of someone who didn't need it anymore. And same with one of these, so I could type little basic programs on it. The Atari portfolio, I think, was famous basically for being in Terminator or Terminator 2. And this runs 186 clone chip in it, so it's an HP 100 LX. Don't have anything installed on it at the moment. But yeah, some of them turn on, so feel free to play with them.
Cool. Any questions for Kirk? No, everybody's just blown away.
How do you store those at home? You store them in boxes, or you got them on display?
Display. I'm the only person that goes into that room. But I bought this plastic makeup organizer from Kmart. I think it's a makeup organizer, and I just like slide them more into my glass. Yeah. I don't know. No one looks at them except me.
How about battery maintenance? Can you get new batteries for them, or are the batteries at risk of damaging them?
The ones that have batteries in them are all just AA's and AAA's. I think, yeah. I think there's a few that still have built-in batteries. The ones that are removable, I take them out.
Right.
Yeah. Don't really want
So enjoy them while we can.
There's no way I'm going to be able to fix any of these little tickly things
Yeah.
if they get battery acid on them. So.
And way easier than the Apple collection to bring. Okay, thanks Kirk.
Thanks.
All right, so who do we have?
So this is actually a little bit cheaty, because I guess a lot of this isn't vintage, even though it's kind of tried to be. So I guess the main thing I've got here, apart from this, which is actually genuine, Celeron in the type, just so it wasn't a complete cheat, this table. So this is, I only put this together yesterday actually, because I bought this over a year ago. And while it might look like a modern PC, it actually kind of isn't. It uses a system on module which is still made, which is the blue thing on the motherboard there, and that's pretty much where it's all going on. It's roughly equivalent to maybe a Pentium Pro 300, still being manufactured. It's a genuine x86 core, and there's a project you might have read about or seen about on YouTube called Tiny Llama. So I think it's kind of currently developing a third version at the moment. The first version was pretty much a credit card sized PC, which uses system on module, built-in sound and graphics and the like. This is actually a kind of attempt to kind of see if you could use it in a modern case. It's a mini ITX motherboard, or a carrier board I suppose, where it opens up the, so you've got like an AGP slot, and it has built-in sound hardware and other niceties. So you can use a USB keyboard if you want, and it's got like a micro SD card which is running from, I can plug a USB drive in, and it could be just loaded as a normal drive. Ideally I would put it in a more retro kind of old style case, but I guess part of the point is that so you could use it with a modern motherboard, use it with a modern case. Can't really hear unfortunately because I've got a crappy speaker attached to it. Not really a perfect monitor, but it's the only monitor I've got with VGA. And then surroundings I've also kind of got like this is what I bought as well, as a Pocket 386. So this is again a new build, except for I think the only old part is maybe where they've scavenged the CPUs, and this is effectively a 386 SX40. So again, this is a genuine x86 computer. Around the back they've got breakout things, so I think one of these you can break. I've got a breakout board for ISA, so you can put like a. Well, it does come with OPR3. You could also put a different sound card in and break out for VGA or PS2 if you wanted. It's quite interesting because it's got a lot of money to supply something like that. It kind of makes you think actually is it worth it. So it's much more forward option for anyone looking to get into PCs. It's something like one of these thin clients, which are very, very cheap to buy. And still a lot of nice things, it's still quite useful. So it's just a HP thin client. It's actually a compact flash. And again, it's probably roughly equivalent to whatever you've got here, maybe a little bit more powerful. Again, it's 86, but it actually does have a PCI slot, so you could put like a 3DFX card in, or even a PCI sound card that's pretty sound blasting compatible. So I just thought this just so you can complete more. So there's an element of vintage rather than just retro. I do have some old modern sound cards as well. So I find it quite interesting, the whole people still trying to make things from the time, So like a home Orpheus 2 sound card, Pico Gus, it's all quite interesting, I think, but not necessarily the most cost-effective way to get into that. But the motherboard, I can't remember how much it costs, but it's all hand built pretty much. So I wouldn't expect it to be honest. Do you have any questions?
All right, thank you for that.
That's right.
Okay.
So I'm Brad. I've only been doing this for a little bit. So what we've got here is a Apple IIc, C for compact, so it's sort of like an Apple IIe, except obviously a lot smaller, with an external drive. I didn't have to do anything for this, I just sort of got it and basically gave it a bit of a clean. I actually think it comes from Purdue University in the States. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. The external drive had a little bit of help. I only got him sort of a few weeks ago and he wouldn't go. And on the inside there's two rails that the read-write head goes down, and one of the rails was behind another piece of metal. And it's like, how could it be this way? And I know it's been dropped. There's a small crack here and here. So maybe that, or maybe it was so clean inside, I almost wonder whether it was from the factory that way and people just didn't use it. So I'm not 100% sure. So Apple IIc, compact, that's why I brought along, C for compact. Of course, they never told us how to transport the CRT monitors back in the 80s, so that's a bit of a different kettle of fish. And then I decided to do my most modern thing that I've got is the Macintosh 2CI with a cache card inside him. I got him from the States. I think an architect in the States owned it. It didn't go when I got it. So obviously of this era, it's got the electrolytic caps that are leaking all over the board, and the power supply caps. I had problems with the power supply. I recapped it, still had obviously problems. Did the electrolytic caps, but there's discovered there's a whole heap of traces that I had to fix as well. So he's got lots of blue bodge wire all over the top of them if we sort of open them up. The hard drive still works great. So sort of the beginning of, or relatively, I've got a couple of 2Es, but for the 2C and the other end my newest, so sort of like my oldest and my newest from my collection. And I got a little poster here of the 2E, which I got for Christmas, which I thought would be useful to bring around.
Cool.
Any questions?
All appled out.
That's exciting, the Apple one.
Cool. Yep.
So I've brought along, I think, probably a collection of noble failures. So we've got the Lisa, which actually I've got from Terry Stewart, so this has been here before if you've been to these shows before. I thought I'd get a little bit more into the software side of it. So I've installed the Apple Workbench, which is what they use for software development. thinking that I'd just click on a nice little icon and some wonderful early graphic development environment will come up, but that's not how it works at all. So basically, you have to dual boot it into a completely different operating system, which will come up shortly, hopefully. So it's just closing itself down. There we go. So you then go into the workshop, sorry, not the workbench. Let's do that. It has been playing out, I think, my CF card, because the hard drive failed before I got it. So, and that's the wonderful environment you've got on your lovely graphical Lisa. So if you've ever used Apple Pascal on the Apple II, it's pretty much identical to that. So we've got a little menu across the top. The editor is graphical, but everything else is text-based. And amusingly, I've only got Pascal on it, but there's an option for COBOL, an option for BASIC. So I was saying to Grant earlier, imagine you got this in 1983. Your boss said, I'm going to buy you a sexy new Apple Lisa, great. But you're going to program in COBOL and a text-based interface.
For a reason.
But the other thing is, of course, but the Lisa Office system is written in something called Pascal, which is an object-oriented version of Pascal that Apple created, which I believe went on to form the basis for Delphi, more than Delphi. Have you ever used that? But they never actually released it for developers. So even though you can write stuff in Pascal, and there is a little graphics library in it, there's no way of getting that into the actual Lisa operating system to use your software. It just always runs completely separately.
Did they use that to create the Mac?
So I think they did. I think they just used this, and I think they did, and they developed the software. And I don't know a lot about Macs and development, but I believe some of the software libraries have similar names to the software library we'll get on the early Mac stuff. And this is the Lisa 210, but later on was also sold as a Mac XL. So you just change the ROM, change the operating system you've got with the an early Mac with a hard drive. That's the Lisa.
What's the bit on the bottom of the keyboard there? It seems to sort of like...
Oh, so when Terry sold it to me, this was the extra little bit. So perhaps it's quite rare to get the keyboard shortcuts on the menu card. It's because you don't need help, right? The other thing I'd say is, while the editor is a graphical editor, this bit of this is graphical, no arrow keys, because Steve Jobs decided you didn't need cursors, you just need a mouse. Editing code with just a mouse and no cursor keys. Next one is Toshiba T3100E, which is a bit interesting but not that interesting. Lovely warm gas. If it gets cold later on, warm your hands on the screen. But what I've done on here, it was offered with OS2 version 1.1 as an option. So that's what it's running. So it looks a lot like Windows 2, because this is when they're obviously IBM and Microsoft got together to develop the new successor to DOS. I think they joined the agreement, they got together in 85. OS2 1 came out in 87, but it was text only. And this is the first version that had a graphical. That sounded expensive. Yeah, so maxed out to 5 megs, so that's OS2 1 playing. So interesting examples of early kind of GUIs, I guess. Next one across, not really related, so Tatung Einstein. So this was launched in the UK in 84, and it's a real case of what were they thinking. So from my point of view, this was a slightly wine-powered eBay purchase when I was in the UK a couple of years ago, and I kind of thought I was buying myself like a Z80-based BBC Micro. So the ports are all the DIN plugs like you get on a BBC Micro. In fact, the video cable is my SCART lead from a BBC Micro. Got a port on the back, it's called the tube, and if you know your BBCs, that's how you plug in certain processors. But it's nothing like it, it's way, way simpler. It's not got anything like the flexibility of a BBC Micro. It's got the TMS-99 to Texas Instruments graphics chip and a Yamaha sound chip, so it's basically got the MSX specifications for hardware. It's 64K RAM and 60K video RAM, and it came out the year after MSX, but it's not MSX compatible. So why you do that and not make it compatible? And then they started trying to sell it as a business machine. It's because it runs a version of CPM, it's not quite compatible, but it's only 40 column and it uses the tiny 3-inch disc that no software was available. So then you wonder why it failed, because it was kind of in between everything and never really hit the mark. Any of it? And the last machine is the DEC GG. Now, I'm going to have to look up on my phone what GG stands for because it's not a forced acronym, honestly. So GG is General Imaging Generator and Interpreter. So it's also known as the VK100, and it's a cousin of the VT100 terminal. It does a bit more than that. So you can use it. I was going to bring my Microvax, but I'm worried about my power budget, so it's going off a about that. So the interpreter is, if you go into setup, and then go down a couple, it's now running a Microsoft Basic interpreter. So it's got an 8085 running, I think about 3 megahertz, 32K of RAM, which is fantastic. But if you check the ports, there's no cassette port, there's no disk port, there's no way of storing your program locally. I think you might have been able to blast it back up the wire to the PDP-11 or whatever you were using it from, but it's kind of pointless. I think they used it as a glorified calculator, so you could do your work and do some stuff locally. Grant was suggesting maybe you would charge for CPU time on the VAX or the PDP-11, so you maybe did a bit of stuff locally. So it's got the basic, but the other, change inputs. There we go. But the other amazing capability it's got is there's a graphics format called Regis, which is basically graphics and text files that have primitives for drawing lines and drawing circles and stuff. So it has amazing high resolution graphics capability. Oops. If I do. That's not going to work, is it? Let me see what I have. Oh, because I can't spell. So it's probably a bit dark. It'll flood the eyes in a second. But so that's basically pumping characters down the serial line that's telling the machine to draw various circles and lines and God knows what else. So that's one one.
Any questions? Or? Yes.
I'm glad that Lisa is here. So thank you.
The Tatung used to be used for, was popular with developers for Spectrum games.
That's right, I was going to mention. So you can get an add-on in the back called Speculator, which is basically a cassette interface and a couple of ROMs. And you had to load some software on the Einstein first, but then it would run Spectrum games, you could do that. But also, because it's actually quite nice to use, even though it's a massive failure, it's one of my favourite machines, because the keyboard's quite nice, it's quite robust, and a lot of Spectrum software was written on it. Yeah.
Have you tried getting a Speculator?
I've seen the prices of a Speculator.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Right.
Oh, last is me. Good morning, everyone, and my apologies for scuffling around while you were trying to present your machines. I was quite late, but the theme of my table here is interesting portables, and I'll just go over very briefly as to why I think they're interesting, because I could talk all day about each of them. The first one I have here is from, I think, 1992. This is a top-line power mode 486 SLC powered by Texas Instruments 486 clone, I believe. And it's interesting because there is absolutely no information on it whatsoever. All of the information that would have been on this has been lost to time, so I can only sort of speculate on the origins of this. So it has no FCC ID, so it wouldn't have been sold in the States. Topline was a Dutch IT vendor, and well, when I got this, it had a Dutch version of Windows 3.11 on it, so there are some clues to its origin. Other than that, its ODM is a Taiwanese company called La Pro Corporation, and apart from one FCC file, there is absolutely no information on them either. So what I think this is a cheap clone of another 486 laptop from around the era that looks almost identical. So I believe this would have been a budget machine for the time, whereby it would have been sold by Topline after they went to the Taiwanese ODM and said, how cheap of a machine could you deliver me? I'm quite fortunate for it to have a working floppy drive. It is running Windows 3.11. Passive matrix grayscale display, and it has other stuff such as an 80 bus HTTP connector. I've never ever seen one of those on a portable. And also there's no information on it to the point of, it doesn't tell you how much voltage it takes. So when I got it, it's basically taking my power supply, cranking the voltage until it started. And now we'll move on to 1994 with the Zenith Data Systems XenoFlex. And if you watch certain YouTube channels, you'd actually recognize this. Now, why this is interesting is because of this. It's a completely modular laptop, and apparently, from what I've read, born of a US federal contract for a laptop and a multimedia system. The two contracts got merged, and this is the result. So,
And they also built a bridge at the same time.
yeah, exactly. And while other manufacturers went on to offer modular machines later on, IBM notably, this one's from 1994, and in 1994 it was unheard of to be able to take your floppy drive out. You can, oh wow, it won't go back in though. The CPU, which is on this one, is a 48060 DX4, is underneath that flap there. And you can get the dock for it, which is a blue box looking thing, but that's rarer than hen's it does work. I didn't quite get up to powering it just yet, but quite a cool machine. I had never heard of Zenith Data Systems until I rescued this from a recycler. So skipping on to the early 2000s and Sony with their absolutely bizarre design. This is a via PTG C1 VS, and not only is it notable for its ultra portable design and its complete lack of legacy peripherals such as floppy drives and such. It's also notable for using a transmitter Crusoe processor, and I can talk all day about transmitter and all the things that they did wrong and the very few things that they did right. But it was chosen for this machine for its low power draw. The battery on this is obviously dead, and I don't really want to resell something that does that. But it has other wonderful Sony features, such as not a webcam but a motion eye that flips around, and also had all of the ports needed to interface with your other Sony portables, such as their, well, that didn't come out, such as their personal entertainment organizer. This is not a PDA, it is a PEO. Even comes with a camera that you can flip around for selfie mode. And just a quick mention of this amazing camera that I just picked up recently. I've always wanted these. It's a CD Mavica. So it has an optical drive. And it takes these very hard to get 8-inch CDs that hold 156 megabytes.
Your one is the newer one, and you can put CDRWs in it.
Yep.
So find the CDRW, because I've got the original, which is about twice the size of that.
Yeah, I would really love to see the original.
Yeah, the original can't write CDRWs. So you have to
really?
burn through CDRs, you don't have a choice. With that, you can at least use an RW.
Yeah, this is an RW as well, so I was extremely lucky with this one.
You must use a lot of battery to write the CD.
Yes, the battery on this, you can actually still buy them new, but it lasts about 40 minutes. Because it's mostly spinning the CD drive all the time. And then in around 2006, Sony looked at this previous design and thought this is too big, so they went with this, which is as PDAs were reaching the end of their life, they decided to combine them both. And so this is basically a full-fledged computer. It runs Windows XP. It has a Intel Core Solo ultra-low voltage processor in it. It is extremely slow, but Sony really insisted on putting Windows Vista onto it as well. So this one runs XP. Two interfaces for control. You've got a touch screen and also this here, which acts as like a control knob, a la the tracking hub. And it has other cool peripherals like compact flash slot, the essential Sony memory stick slot. It still has the motion eye. Sony had decided that was still a really cool name. I have to agree with them. And it's maybe slightly out of place here because this has Bluetooth and Wi-Fi as well. But all of these interest me for just being slightly odd and also wouldn't have sold that well. I mean, this was extremely expensive, but extremely interesting nonetheless. Any questions?
Where did you pick the Wevo from?
Sorry, the
one in your hand?
this was from training.
Yeah. Wasn't from a dude in Dunedin, was it?
Possibly.
It's fair courtesy.
I have seen another one at recycler, unfortunately too.
Yeah.
All of my machines are recycler rescues.
Yeah.
I've actually got another one of these that was completely smashed up. So I ended up getting a parts unit from Japan. The common issue with these is that the screen delaminates, and this is a rarity in itself for actually having a working screen. A little bit of tunnel vision, but it still works. Which is a relief. My other machines are in less than working condition.
Nice.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.